There's one man who refuses to follow the script.
We have rules here, you know that. And if you don't follow the rules, then what are we?
One man stands tall in the face of adversity.
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
A man who rises above the ashes of hot takes.
What do you care what they say?
Easy for you to say they all love you.
It's just noise, man. You're really good at it. You might be great.
That man is Nick Kostos, and this is You Better You Bet.
If loving sports is wrong, I don't want to be right.
Where narratives are challenged and the truth is spoken.
I told you what was going to happen last week. If you didn't listen, that's on you.
This isn't talk, it's perspective.
It's not what you look at that matters. It's what you see.
This is You Better You Bet, presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Oh, we've got some breaking news in the world of sports. You normally start the show with the usual open. What's up, everybody? Happy and merry, magnificent Sports Monday to you and yours. But I literally have ESPN. We can bring the music down here a little bit, Kenny. I have ESPN up on the TV right now. And literally, as I'm getting set to do the open for the show, Nick Kostos and you, hello. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Hope you had a great Father's Day. ESPN Shams Charania is on Get Up right now. And they had a breaking news chyron underneath him. The chyron is the graphic that runs, that you see all the time. And I thought it was going to say, Giannis traded. Why else would they have Shams and breaking news? That's not the report, but the report is. So it looks like we are going to have some finality on this. And it's about time, as far as Giannis is concerned. Shams is on the desk right now on ESPN saying that a Giannis Antetokounmpo trade is coming before the NBA draft tomorrow. So the expectation is that Giannis will be dealt before 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. Presumably, it's either the Boston Celtics or the Miami Heat. We have heard rumblings that there are some other teams in play, most notably the Minnesota Timberwolves, but it does feel like it will either be Boston or Miami trading for Giannis Antetokounmpo. So that news has just broken that a trade is going to happen with Giannis in between now and 8 o'clock Eastern tomorrow night, which is serendipitous because that, of course, is the lead of today's show on this magnificent Sports Monday, the show presented by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. We will get to Team USA and the World Cup and why I think the semifinals is very much in reach for the United States and what a big deal that would be. We'll get to that. We'll talk about LeBron James and his future with the Lakers and what Luka Doncic should expect this offseason from Rob Pelinka and Los Angeles. And I will also tell everybody the AFC dark horse in the National Football League that I think is more Barbaro than Secretariat. Too soon? 310-840-4910 is the number. YouTube.com /@thekostos. And you can follow me on all social platforms at the Kostos, TheKostos. So there you have it. Shams Charania reporting it. A Giannis Antetokounmpo trade expected before tomorrow at 8 o'clock Eastern. Thank God. Praise the Lord. Can we please end our long national nightmare here with Giannis on the Milwaukee Bucks? Because this has reached the point with Giannis still being on the team. And I'm not even talking about like yesterday into today. I'm talking about the fact that he's still a Buck, period. Period. This has become parody. Now, for those of you that are unaware, and you should be aware of this because it's actually funny, there is a great NBA like joke account called NBA Centel, right? It's like a parody account. And they will fool people on occasion tweeting news, fake news, and people will retweet it. But it is meant to be a joking account. It's been featured on Inside the NBA, etc. NBA Centel tweeted this weekend that Giannis wants to stay in Milwaukee, just not with the Bucks, which made me laugh out loud because we know that Giannis has been trying to toe this line between being respectful to the Bucks and Bucks fans while also wanting to get the hell out of Dodge. So it's like Giannis, he doesn't want to leave Milwaukee. He just wants to leave the Bucks. And it's one of those things that doesn't make any sense. But given how crazy this whole thing has been with Giannis in Milwaukee, part of me actually believed it. Should Giannis, the Milwaukee Brewers are awesome right now. Should Giannis take his talents to the Milwaukee Brewers? Should Giannis stay in the state of Wisconsin and sign with the Green Bay Packers as a red zone weapon for Jordan Love? Hell, I mean, Brenton Sorsby was almost able to play college football this year. What if Giannis sued the NCAA to play at Wisconsin this coming season in college basketball? You want to stay in Milwaukee, Giannis, and not play for the Bucks? You got a couple options presented to you. So yes, it's parody. Also, is it that crazy? Yes, it is that crazy. But I mean, this saga has gone on for so long and has been ridiculous in the sense that Giannis, we've said it on this show, just needs to say, trade me. And he won't do it. But it looks now like it's not going to matter whether he says it or not, because a trade is going to happen before tomorrow night's NBA draft, the first rounds, 8 o'clock Eastern, per Shams Charania of ESPN. So let's talk about what to expect when, not if now, it's being reported when Giannis is traded. There are two teams, and we mentioned them, right? The Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics that are in pole position to acquire Giannis Antetokounmpo. And perhaps there are mystery teams. We've heard Minnesota. We've heard Portland bandied about. But it does look like it will either be the Miami Heat or the Boston Celtics. The Miami Heat right now reminds me, and for everyone that plays fantasy football, and I think that's probably the vast majority of the audience. And I've been guilty of this at points, so I'm going to say this in kind of an insulting way, but listen, I've done this, for sure. Like the guy in your fantasy football league who wants to acquire Bijan Robinson from you. You have Bijan Robinson. This person would like Bijan Robinson. And you get a trade offer for Bijan Robinson, and the offer is like Jaden Reed and Tyrone Tracy. And you get this trade offer, and you can't click decline fast enough. Or maybe you make a counter and do something ridiculous just to really show that person, what the hell are you thinking? Every fantasy football league has somebody that does this on the regular. They want a star, but they're not willing to trade anything of any significance to get the star. Never thought I'd say this. It feels like Pat Riley right now, who's obviously a living legend in the NBA, but it feels like Pat Riley is that guy in your fantasy football league right now. I said last week on the show, after the Knicks won the NBA championship, which, by the way, is still pretty awesome to say, the Knicks are NBA champions, that Jalen Brunson has surpassed Giannis at this point on the best players in the league list, the best players in the league ranking, the best players in the world ranking. But that doesn't mean that Giannis Antetokounmpo, A, isn't tremendous, and B, can't go on a big-time revenge tour this season and dominate the league and potentially win another championship and be the best player on a championship team. That is very much in the realm of possibility for Giannis Antetokounmpo this season. And lest we forget, because he's 32 now, and he's coming off, obviously, an injury-plagued bad season in Milwaukee. Not bad in terms of his stats, but bad in terms of wins and losses and public perception. He's still unbelievable. It's just, like, how many years do you have left of this? My sense is, at the least, this year will be great for Giannis, where he's going to be motivated, and he's going to want to prove people wrong, and he obviously is in hot pursuit of a second NBA championship. So the Miami Heat, again, here's Jaden Reed and Tyrone Tracy for Bijan Robinson. Now, Tyler Hero is a nice player. He's a good player. Is he great? No, but he's very good. And he's doing great off the court. Don't believe me? Check out his Instagram. Tyler Hero, very good player. Jaime Jaquez is a very good player. Yeah, I don't think he can ever be great. He's a good to very good player. Khalil Ware has a lot of potential. And then here's the 13th pick in the draft. Really? Really? That's the offer for Giannis? Tyler Hero? Jaquez? Ware? And the 13th pick? No Bam Adebayo? And I understand if you're Miami, yeah, we want to pair Giannis with Bam. I get it. If you're Miami, the problem is that Miami isn't making a trade with itself. Miami needs to make a trade with Milwaukee. And maybe that's going to be the best offer. We'll see. I find it hard to believe that is the package that gets it done for Giannis. Milwaukee would be nuts if that's what it was. And that's the offer that's been bandied about. Miami trying to get this deal done to bring Giannis Antetokounmpo to South Beach to play for Eric Spoelstra and with Bam Adebayo. And that takes us to the Boston Celtics. And maybe it'll be Miami that gets it done. Maybe there's something else that I'm not aware of right now that we collectively aren't aware of, a third team. I don't know. Maybe Pat Riley's going to pull this out of his derriere. He's done it before. Remember, we're less than 2 decades ago, Riley pulling off one of the greatest coups of all time, re-signing Dwayne Wade and bringing in Chris Bosh and, of course, LeBron James taking his talents to South Beach. So Riley's done this before. It's not impossible he pulls it out of thin air. It can absolutely happen. But it seems to me right now that the most likely outcome here, based on everything you're hearing, and I said it last week, wanted to give full credit to Bill Simmons of the Bill Simmons podcast from The Ringer, who's obviously super tied into the Celtics and the NBA, who said on his show a week ago that he had heard the Celtics had made an offer for Giannis. If it's true, and we can go through the reasons why I believe that it's at least plausible, if not definite, that the Celtics would want to potentially trade Jaylen Brown in a deal for Giannis, how can Miami beat that offer? Like, how is it possible that Miami can beat that offer? Whether it's a third team, so Jaylen Brown goes to the other team, and that team then trades $1 million assets to Milwaukee, young assets and young players to Milwaukee. We also saw a report that the Bucks might be willing to axe the third team and just deal directly with the Celtics. So I think Boston's got the best potential package here, at least from what we're hearing right now, that the Celtics have the best potential offer on the table for Giannis Antetokounmpo. And this is where I would like us to go back to the Celtics end of season press conference with Executive Vice President of Basketball Operations, basically the GM of the team, Brad Stevens. And we talked about this after the fact, after Boston lost to Philadelphia, blew the 3-1 lead, lost Game 7 at home. And I'm going to paraphrase. Oh, we have the sound. This was Brad Stevens talking about potential changes to the Celtics offense from last year into this year. Take a listen.
I think that one of the things that we've got to figure out is how to have more of an impact at the rim, and I think we do need to add to our team to do that.
Okay, so Brad Stevens is saying the quiet part out loud. He's saying what all of us are thinking when we watch the Boston Celtics play basketball. And I understand that the Celtics went nuclear a couple years with a different team, but went nuclear a couple years ago, were obviously dynamite in the regular season, and then blitzed their way through the playoffs en route to a championship, beating Luka Doncic and the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA Finals. But in the 2 years that have followed, whether it was, 2 seasons ago now, losing to the Knicks in the Eastern Conference semis, and yes, Jason Tatum gets hurt, blows out his Achilles in that series. The Celtics were not winning that series, and we can all be honest about that, right? And terrible shooting from downtown in that series. And then looking at this first-round loss to the 76ers. And look, yes, Boston was the 2 seed, but it's a bit of a weird 2 seed, right? With Jason Tatum being reintegrated back into the team earlier than expected, and then Tatum can't go in Game 7 for the Celtics. So I don't think this is your average run-of-the-mill 2 seed losing to a 7. There's a little bit more going on here, right? Also, in the Celtics' 4 losses to Philadelphia, including games 5, 6, and 7, games 5 and 7 at home in Boston, the Celtics shot from three. This is in the 4 losses to Philadelphia. From three, 26, 28, 29, and 27%. You can't live like this. You just can't. Where, yeah, if you're going to make 40% of your threes, you're going to win. But what happens when you roll the dice and this is the outcome? 26, 28, 29, 27. And no one is saying, at least I'm not saying, that the Celtics shouldn't continue shooting a ton of threes. It's 2026. Of course they're going to shoot a ton of threes. Just that, if the threes aren't falling, you have to have some other way to score the basketball. Because we can be honest now, right? And I've been saying this for a long time. Let's say the Celtics had beaten Philadelphia in the first round. You think they're beating the Knicks? Without the Knicks won the title, you think the Celtics were going to beat them? All of us watched the Celtics play basketball, and all of us said, this is not sustainable moving forward. To shoot this and not have a backup plan in place where we can get our points if the three isn't falling. They live by the three and die by the three. And this year, they were slain by the three to such a degree that they bled out in the street for all of us to watch. Brad Stevens is saying it. We need to get better at the rim. Can you think of someone that can make you better at the rim? That's available this offseason more so than the great multi-time MVP, former finals MVP, Giannis Antetokounmpo? Could you imagine that? Here's Giannis on the Celtics where, look, like they're still going to shoot a ton of threes. If they're not falling, here, give Giannis the ball, get out of the way, and watch as he puts up 27 to 35 points. It's a no-brainer if they can make it happen. A no-brainer. And if, and again, we led the show with it. Shams Charania of ESPN said about 20 minutes ago in real time on ESPN that a trade will be completed with Giannis before round 1 of the NBA draft tomorrow night. And if he goes to Boston, and let's assume that Jaylen Brown is the primary piece that gets dealt, and we'll do more on that, Brown v. Tatum, etc. Jaylen Brown is the primary piece that gets dealt. Let's say the Celtics are able to keep Derek White. We'll see what the package ends up being. It's June 22nd right now. I think we will know whether the trade is consummated for Giannis today, June 22nd, or tomorrow, Tuesday, June 23rd. I think we will know, assuming health, of course, right? Assuming that the principal players on these teams remain healthy. I think we're going to know both conference finals already for next year in the NBA. Today or tomorrow. If the Celtics get Giannis, I think you can almost set it in stone, pending health. So not 100%. But if everyone's going to be healthy, I don't see how this isn't the case. Your Eastern Conference final next year. The Boston Celtics against the New York Knicks. If the Celtics do trade for Giannis, Celtics-Knicks next year in the Eastern Conference final. And we have seemingly all collectively decided, even prior to the epic 7-game series that they played this year, that the Western Conference final for the next however many years is going to be Oklahoma City and San Antonio. And we'll get into Oklahoma City's trade of Aaron Wiggins to the Hawks coming up in a little bit. So if the Celtics get Giannis, I think we are going to know, or have a good idea at least, as to what next year's conference final is going to be. It's like 11 months from now. I think we already know. 11 months in advance. Eastern Conference final, Celtics-Knicks. Western Conference final, Spurs and Thunder. And just on the Eastern Conference, if the Celtics are able to get Giannis, and we'll talk more about Jaylen Brown on the other side, but just on the Eastern Conference, why I feel so confident in that result if the Celtics are able to pull this off. You know, Tyrese Halliburton's going to be back for the Indiana Pacers. Obviously, right? And the tearing his Achilles in Game 7 of the NBA Finals against the Thunder was brutal for Tyrese Halliburton and brutal for the Pacers. I really like what the Pacers did, trading for Zubats, getting their center to replace Miles Turner this past season, but not getting the 5th pick in the draft was such a blow to this team, such a blow to the Pacers. And maybe they'll just be able to exceed expectations again and really compete with the Knicks and Boston after what they did last season. It really shouldn't surprise anyone if they're able to do that, but I think it's fair to say put the Knicks and the Celtics a cut above the Pacers, at least for right now. There's Detroit and there's Cleveland. Do you trust the Pistons right now? Detroit's got a big decision to make on Jalen Duren, and they're probably going to pay him. And Duren was an all-NBA caliber big man this year in the regular season, and then wilted like a plant in the sun with no water in the postseason. That fill you with confidence? Do the Cleveland Cavaliers, as currently constructed, fill you with confidence? Do they? Got annihilated by the Knicks and then were in denial about it after getting swept. James Harden, we're the better team. Kenny Atkinson, analytically, we're actually up in the series. Or you got swept by the eventual NBA champions. Does that fill you with confidence? The Cleveland Cavaliers? I really like what Atlanta did this weekend. Signed C.J. McCollum to an extension. McCollum was obviously the closer for this team in the play. Hit a couple shots to beat the Knicks twice. 2 of New York's 3 losses in the playoffs. C.J. McCollum and the Hawks. And then they trade for Aaron Wiggins because the Thunder can't afford to pay all these guys and need to shed some salary. It's a great move by Atlanta. And I love Jalen Johnson. And I like some of these pieces on the Hawks. Alexander Walker, Dyson Daniels, etc. But I mean, really? Atlanta is going to be on the same level as Boston? As the Knicks? If the Celtics get Giannis? I think there's a good chance we are going to know by 8 o'clock tomorrow night, Tuesday night, June 23rd, the 4 finalists next year in the NBA. My Knicks, Giannis and the Celtics, the Oklahoma City Thunder, and the San Antonio Spurs. And in a league that has really prided itself recently and championed itself for its parity, no back-to-back champions since the Warriors in 17 and 18. I think we're going to know well in advance what it's going to be to close next season. We're just getting started here. Magnificent Sports Monday. Nick Kostos and you here on You Better You Bet. On the other side, why I believe Jaylen Brown would be the Celtic that gets traded out in a potential Giannis trade, and why I think it is one of the great no-brainers in the history of no-brainers. We'll also get to LeBron James' future with the Los Angeles Lakers, and why the Lakers are, quote, on the clock as it concerns the future of Luka Doncic. Don't go anywhere. Keep it locked right here to Westwood One Sports, presented by BetMGM.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com. Progressivecommercial.com. We have more from ESPN Shams Charania now. I'm doing the show with, I have a bunch of TVs in the office all on mute, so I can't hear everything he's saying or any of it. Just going by what I see on the Chiron on ESPN. So now a bunch of tweets are coming out, like transcribing what Shams said. The Heat and the Celtics are finalists for Giannis, which doesn't mean it can't be another team. But as we talked about in the open, those are the two teams that have been bandied about the most. The Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics. As far as I'm concerned, like, the Celtics are the team that has way more to offer. And again, Miami's like the guy in your fantasy football league who wants to trade for one of the best players in the league and gives you 2 Bs to try and get an A, which is not how things go. So some added context here from Shams Charania is that the trade will be a 2-team deal. A 2-team deal. And if it's going to be a 2-team deal and the Celtics are involved, obviously Jaylen Brown is going back to Milwaukee. And the thought had been maybe there would be a third team that would be the conduit, right? And Jaylen Brown goes to that team, and that team trades a haul of young assets to Milwaukee. Maybe Milwaukee's just going to say, hey, like, we're going to roll here with Jaylen Brown, and maybe there'll be some other assets as well. I'm sure Brad Stevens is trying to finagle something, right? In the same way Pat Riley is trying to finagle something. As far as Jaylen Brown is concerned, he is such an interesting human being, period, right now in the world of sports. Like, yes, he's an excellent athlete. And yes, he played at an MVP caliber level this year while Jason Tatum was out and showed that he could be the number one on a really good team. That is all true. Also, when the season ended and the Celtics lost Game 7 at home to the Philadelphia 76ers, Jaylen Brown said on his Twitch stream that this was his favorite season of his career. Now, the weird thing about that statement is 2 seasons ago, his season ended with NBA Finals MVP when the Celtics won a championship, which tells you all you need to know about Jaylen Brown. And I don't say that in a negative way. And I feel like a lot of people will, and God bless them. They're welcome to their opinions. I look at that, what Jaylen Brown said. This is the favorite season of my career because he's probably felt, and we can relate to this as humans, right? He's probably felt, and it's true, whenever all of us talk about the Boston Celtics and this 1-2 punch of Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, I'll ask all of you, who is assumed to be the better player of the two when we talk about them? It's Tatum, right? It's Tatum 1A and Jaylen Brown 1B. And it was close. It could have gone either way. But even Jaylen Brown winning Finals MVP over Jason Tatum didn't shake that. And this is not for me to say that I think Brown is definitely better than Tatum. They're both great. Just to say that in Jaylen Brown's head, and I'm not in it to know this for sure, but I mean, use your noodles, everybody. What do you think? Do you think Jaylen Brown believes he's the best player on the Celtics or not? Of course he does. And he should. Any great athlete should believe that about his or herself, right? So he got the opportunity and I don't think he wanted Jason Tatum to get hurt. I'm not insinuating that. But he had the opportunity this year to show it. That he's awesome. And awesome to that level. Where the Celtics are the two. Yes, Tatum comes back at the end of the year. But this was Jaylen Brown's team this year. Like they were the 2 seed this year. In what a lot of people, myself included, thought would be a gap year. And yes, Joe Mazzulla was great, and he won Coach of the Year, and other players on the Celtics stepped up. But I mean, this was Jaylen Brown's team. And I'm sure that even with the first round exit, Jaylen Brown walks away, and we know it because he said it on his Twitch stream, he walks away thinking that year was a success. And I'm sure if all of that is true, and I believe it is, that he would like the opportunity to quote-unquote lead his own team. Now, let's just think for a second, right? Let's say that the Celtics wanted to trade Jason Tatum instead of Jaylen Brown. Let's just say that that was the case, right? And Giannis is coming in. So now it's going to be Giannis and Jaylen Brown. How do you think Jaylen Brown... Now, I'm not saying he'll hold out, but Jaylen Brown in that situation is going to be like, man, we traded a guy that everyone thinks is better than me, and the guy coming in, everyone thinks is better than me. And Jaylen Brown won't be able to escape that 1B shadow if Giannis comes to town and it's the two of them teaming up, right? So I'm sure that part of Jaylen Brown is thinking, man, like, let me go run my own team. Brad Stevens has had to answer questions about his relationship with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown keeps logging on Twitch and making news for the things that he says. There's a lot of smoke here as it concerns Jaylen Brown and the Celtics. Eventually be fire. So I actually think it kind of makes sense for all parties. Tatum of the two seems like the one that would be way more willing to share the spotlight with Giannis, and candidly, for as great as Tatum is, and he's great, he's not Giannis. So Tatum will have to accept being 1B if Giannis comes to town. And my sense is, and you tell me if you agree or disagree, that of the two, Tatum would be way more willing to accept that and deal with it and accept the role and keep his mouth shut and play great basketball and try and win a championship. Tatum would be way more willing to do that than Jaylen Brown. So that's where I think we're at right now. Two teams emerging as the finalists for Giannis per Shams. The Miami Heat and the Boston Celtics, and a two-team deal. If Miami's going to offer the poo-poo platter, emphasis on poo-poo, of a bunch of players, and I'm not saying they're bad, but they're not great, and the 13th pick in the draft, and then here's Jaylen Brown, I mean, come on. What do you think the Bucks are going to do? Anything can happen. I can't believe Giannis is still on the team at this point. What do you think's going to happen? And if it goes down the way I think it might, and everything is subject to change, again, I'll say it. Celtics-Knicks next year in the Eastern Conference Final. We'll take a quick break, and on the other side, LeBron James' future in Los Angeles and why it impacts Luka Doncic, and why I actually believe that all of us right now, collectively, are sleeping on the potential transformative nature of this year's NBA draft. That's coming up next on You Better You Bet.
none of us in here know what the future holds. None of us. Nobody has any idea what the future holds, and I don't either. Like I said, I'll take time to recalibrate and look over the season and see what's best for my future. And when I get to that point, everyone will know.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Speaking of making your World's Game a moment, I've got a World Cup parlay. I was in the kitchen this morning, cooking that son of a bitch up. I'll give it to you at the end of the show today. And I'll give you my thoughts on the United States 2-0 win over Australia. Next hour on the show, our friend Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer will join us in the final hour of the show to talk all things World Cup. The voice coming back from break, of course, the great LeBron James. And a very interesting summer awaits LeBron. Will he be on the Lakers this season? ESPN's Ramona Shelbourne reporting over the weekend that LeBron has not had contact with the Lakers. And how do we know that? Because LeBron is currently on a European excursion, including a stop in Saint-Tropez, with members of the 2016 Cleveland Cavaliers championship team, the 10-year anniversary of the Cavs beating the Warriors, and what I consider to be the greatest NBA Finals of my lifetime, including the best game of my lifetime in any sport, which was Cavs-Warriors Game 7. Noticeable and noted by his absence, Kyrie Irving. But that's a story for another day. So LeBron's, getting hammered on wine every single day with J.R. Smith and Amon Shumpert and Kevin Love and Richard Jefferson, etc. So I'm sure at the moment right now, LeBron is not necessarily considering where he's going to play next season. The big question for LeBron, and it is going to matter because LeBron is Brady-esque, Tom Brady-esque, in the sense that, yes, he is very long in the tooth. And yes, we've never seen anyone at the age LeBron is, much like when Tom Brady was finishing his career in Tampa, perform to this ridiculous level. LeBron is still like a top 25 player in the league, which is crazy given that he's in his 40s. But we all just watched it. He's exceptional. He's still great. Now, this isn't, 2012 Miami, or like 2016 Cleveland, or even bubble with the Lakers. That's not what this is at this point. But he's still exceptional and can absolutely still help a team win. The question is going to be, is he willing to take less money? Or does he want a max deal? Now, I don't think you need to Google this, but I did, just to be sure. Because if I were to ask you, LeBron James' net worth, is the first letter an M or a B? What would you guess? I'll tell you, here's a hint. It's not an M. LeBron James is a billionaire. Billionaire with a B. Now, far be it from me to tell somebody what to do with their money. And I mean, that's not the setup to a joke. If LeBron wants to keep raking it in and keep counting his money, God bless him. I'm not going to criticize him for that. And I mean that sincerely. But I am curious about two things. Number one, Jalen Brunson doing what he did with the Knicks, taking $100 million less to allow the Knicks to build a championship team around him. If that will factor into not only LeBron's decision, but will more superstars start to leave some money on the table in the hopes of winning a championship? That's the first thing. And the second thing is that if LeBron is really serious, truly serious, and he can do whatever he wants, right? He's earned that right. But if the final act of his career is to, in earnest, like a sincere attempt at winning a championship, probably needs to take less money. And again, net worth starts with a B. Billion. I don't think it's really going to hurt his bottom line and his bank account if he makes, 10, 20, $30 million less, which is a crazy thing to say, but also it is the undisputed truth. You better you bet on this Monday. Nick Kostos and you on Westwood One Sports. So we have that LeBron Ramona Shelburne report, right? And this fascinating summer coming up for LeBron, who is absolutely still one of the best players in the NBA. And we can juxtapose that with The Athletic and a couple recent reports from The Athletic, including one right after the Lakers got swept by the Thunder in the second round of the playoffs, that basically says the Lakers are on the clock with Luka Doncic. And that Luka is going to be watching what Rob Pelinka and the Lakers do with a mindful eye over the next couple years, because Luka, after the 2028 season, so 2 full seasons from now, Luka can opt out of it, which everyone expects him to do for a much bigger payday. Luka can opt out and sign somewhere else. And what the Athletic's reporting is not guaranteeing, but what it's saying is that if Luka is not fully satisfied with the Lakers' team-building attempt around him, right, to construct a championship team around Luka Doncic, that his eye can switch from mindful to wandering and start looking around at other situations in the NBA. And that what Luka really wants is kind of a facsimile of the Mavericks team that he had a couple years ago when the Mavericks made that run to the NBA Finals before losing to Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and the Boston Celtics. Now, there's a chance I'm missing something here. And maybe the Lakers have a move up their sleeve that I am not envisioning right now. Other than, obviously, and we've been talking about this since like January, other than re-signing Austin Reeves. If you're going to bring LeBron James back and pay him a ton of money, if that's going to be what, and you try and finagle this somehow, I think the question that everybody needs to answer is, with the Lakers or just as fans, is that team good enough to beat Oklahoma City or San Antonio? And I think the answer is likely no, that it's not. Now, maybe the Lakers could go out there and try and sign Jalen Duren away from Detroit or Walker Kessler away from the Utah Jazz. The problem there is that both of those guys, Duren and Kessler, who would both be awesome with Luka Doncic, are restricted free agents, meaning that the Pistons and Jazz, respectively, have 48 hours to match that deal, and the Lakers' money is tied up while those teams are trying to figure it out. And what did we just say? The Lakers are on the clock right now to build this team around Luka. Now, if LeBron's willing to take less money and the Lakers could get Reeves and LeBron and figure something else out, then yeah, we can have a different conversation. Absolutely. But we don't know the answer to that question yet. Is LeBron willing to take less money? Now, just from a fan perspective, this is not me saying, hey, like, I think LeBron should do this. From a fan perspective, if LeBron is going to leave the Lakers, me personally, it's not that I don't have interest in him going back to Cleveland. I think it would be like a fun story. Just that, we saw it already. Like he already went back there and won a championship. It already happened. The outcome that is by far the most fun for LeBron James, and forget about LeBron, I'll be honest. The outcome that's the most fun for me and for you, big basketball fans and big sports fans, is him taking less money to go play for the Golden State Warriors. And LeBron and Curry and Jimmy Butler, who's obviously recovering from an ACL, I mean, just consider what that looks like at the ends of games. And I know that they're all long in the tooth. And if you're Golden State in that scenario, and Steve Kerr's coming back, like we know that. I think the Warriors think that they're going to be able to accomplish something this summer. Maybe it's LeBron, maybe it's something else. Their entire goal would be just to get to the playoffs healthy. Just get there healthy. The 3 guys healthy. And you have 3, like, legendary playoff performers And I understand that Jimmy Butler has not won a championship. Jimmy Butler carried a couple Miami Heat teams to the title, and he was unbelievable on those runs. And the insinuation is not that Jimmy Butler will be that this year at a more advanced age, coming off a big injury. But I mean, at the ends of games, like, I'm a Knicks fan, right? Let's say, I'm making this up. Let's say Jimmy Butler goes to, let's say he goes to Atlanta. I'm making this up, right? And the Hawks play the Knicks in the first round. And the Knicks are up by 1, and Jimmy Butler has the ball with 7 seconds to play. I feel like that shot's going in with Jimmy Butler. And then here's Steph. And then here's potentially LeBron. Now, LeBron's got to be willing to take less money to do it. And I don't know if that's the case. And I won't criticize him if his decision is, I want to make the maximum amount of money. But if he really wants to win a championship and he's willing to take less money, the Lakers are obviously a great option. But the one that I like the most is Golden State. LeBron and Steph Curry. A decade after their battles with Cleveland versus the Warriors, teaming up in the Bay Area, that would be absolutely electric. Hour 1 done, hour 2 for you coming up on the other side. I'll give you my thoughts on the United States and the World Cup next hour, but we will start it talking all things NBA and NBA draft with our good pal, Matt Moore from the Action Network.
The biggest names in the business are on You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos.
Hey, this is Joe Buck, and you have done it. You have found it. You are listening to You Better You Bet. Great decision.
This is Bob Costas, not Kostos, but you are listening to Nick Kostos on You Better You Bet.
Hi, this is Kevin Harlan of CBS, Westwood One, and TNT, and I'm listening as you do every day to You Better You Bet with the most handsome single man in the radio business. A man who, if I was not married for 38 years, I might consider myself the kind of guy that can electrify a listening audience and a crowd of bystanders watching him do what he does so well each and every day. Continue to listen right here on You Better You Bet.
This is You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports, brought to you by BetMGM.
The magnificent Sports Monday edition of You Better You Bet rolls on. Nick Kostos, our crew, and you here on Westwood One Sports. Man, how about the first hour of the show today? All on the NBA offseason. We haven't even touched the NBA draft yet. Round one of the NBA draft tomorrow night. And I believe this is going to be a transformative NBA draft. And because of everything else that's gone on in sports recently, and there's been a lot, right? And I'm guilty of this too. My favorite basketball team just won the championship. The Knicks won the title. The World Cup's in full swing. I think we all, myself included, up until right now, have lost track a little bit and lost the plot a little bit as it concerns this year's NBA draft. With these top four players in this draft, with AJ Dabbundo and Darren Peterson and Cam Boozer and Caleb Wilson, all feeling like as long as Peterson can keep his head on straight, absolute dynamite prospects. Can't miss prospects. And the two teams picking at the top of the draft, the Washington Wizards, who presumably the betting favorite is AJ Dabbundo. We'll see if that's who they take. But you put AJ Dabbundo on that team with the players they already have there, with Trae Young and Anthony Davis and Sarr and Trey Johnson and others. Why can't that be a top 10 seed in the East next year and actually make the playoffs or at least the play-in? It's pretty exciting if you're a Wizards fan. And the Utah Jazz, who are finally ready to try and start, winning games this year with Larry Markkinen and Jaren Jackson and Ace Bailey and George and others. And we'll see if they keep Kessler. And then here's Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer added to the mix. It could be a playoff team next year. This could be, and I believe will be, a transformative NBA draft. Cannot wait for it tomorrow night. And we led the show with the report from Shams Charania of ESPN that prior to round one of the NBA draft tomorrow night, Giannis Antetokounmpo expected to be traded by the Milwaukee Bucks, with the Celtics and the Heat emerging as the two main suitors, and that this is looking like, not definitely, but looking like, it will be just a two-team deal. If that's what it's going to be, I think it's Boston that will eventually get Giannis. I think Jaylen Brown and more goes to Milwaukee. And if and when that happens, I think we will know now what next year's conference finals will be in the NBA. Thunder and the Spurs in the West, and the Knicks and the Celtics in the East. Joining us right now to talk all things NBA. He's as plugged in as it gets, as knowledgeable as it gets, and I can't wait to pick his brain on all of this. It's our friend Matt Moore from the Action Network, Locked On NBA, and Buckets, and his Substack you can find at his Twitter, at HP Basketball. Matt, happy draft week. How's it going, my friend?
It's going well, man. Excited for what's going to be, I think, a really fascinating week between all the trades hanging in the air, not only for Giannis, but inside the draft and all the picks that we don't know about. It's going to be a really interesting week.
Let's, before we get to the draft, and I want to hit a lot with you here because there's so much going on. We have to start with Giannis. What are you hearing about a potential Giannis Antetokounmpo trade? And again, the Shams report, the expectation is he will be dealt before round one of the NBA draft tomorrow night.
Yeah, so on Saturday, there was significant movement because Detroit was added as a third team in the Miami construct. with Tyler Hero going to Detroit. That was a significant barrier that Miami got past, because if you're able to not send Tyler Hero to Milwaukee and add more assets, that makes the deal a lot more attractive for Milwaukee. Tyler's a good player. He's got a lot of good years left on him, but ultimately it is not the type of asset that the Bucks are looking for. They would rather have what they can get for Hero, which is more picks and players coming back. Some other teams were also involved in the construct, including the Lakers and the Grizzlies. Those teams, that deal got enough momentum that Miami got pretty excited about the idea of maybe we're actually going to get this done. But then Milwaukee does what it does, which is like, okay, great, we'll call you back. And then they went and they talked to Boston and the other teams,
which
said,
they
hey,
should do, right?
You know,
they're actually doing the right thing there, right? And we criticize them all the time, but that's what Milwaukee should be doing.
Right. So they use that as, okay, this is now the bar. You have to clear this. This is what you have to be able to beat. And went back to the other teams, and now the other teams are working on to try and get those in. We don't know what the deadline is. Like, there's no idea like what the deadline is on this deal. It does sound like I would lean a little bit towards Miami as far as like who's in, like, not just the lead, but very likely to get the deal done, just because it doesn't sound like I had heard that Boston had made progress on a third team to send Jaylen Brown to and get the assets back to Milwaukee. But I'm not sure where those talks are now. So I'm not sure if they have a third team to send Jaylen Brown to get the necessary assets back to Milwaukee. Miami has a construct in place. So as of right now, I would probably put it at 60% Miami. I don't think that they're going to sit there and get to the draft without trading him. I think they'd want to have a pick in the lottery coming out of this draft. I think that's important for them as a priority. So I expect Giannis to be traded before tomorrow night. I still think that Miami is in the lead, but Minnesota or Boston can come through. If they can find a third team to get the necessary assets back to Milwaukee, they can still get this deal done.
Why did Shams said that it's expected to be a 2-team deal? Is that your expectation here, that this is almost certainly going to be a 2-team deal and not have a third team involved to facilitate things?
I would be surprised if that's the case, and it sounds like that probably from, because Shams is Shams. I would say that what probably happened is that deal, those other deals I just mentioned may have fallen apart, right? If that's fallen apart, then it goes back to Miami. It's just a 2-team deal. That's the simplest one. If it's Miami, it's a 2-team deal. I have a really hard time with the idea of Milwaukee taking on Jaylen Brown, who has won a championship and in his prime and wants to continue to compete for championships, trying to build around him and Jaylen being happy in that situation. That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't work at all for Milwaukee.
Why do you think that doesn't make sense? Why do you think that? I think that's interesting. Why do you think that doesn't make sense?
Because the Bucks are not going to be ready to compete right now. Like, they're so far away in terms of where the roster is, their salary cap sheet, all of the things that are on the table for them. If it's a 2-team deal and it's just like we're just gonna add Jaylen and move Giannis. Well, okay, with Giannis last year, and he missed a lot of games, but with Giannis, this team was very far away from being a contender. You add Jaylen Brown, who is a good player, but not Giannis. There's no way for them to be able to say that they were actually a contender, even like a playoff team. I think is like, I think a stretch of the imagination there, as good as I think Jaylen Brown is. Is Jaylen Brown the best player that has been mentioned? Yes. From that perspective, there's value there. But from a Milwaukee perspective, it just swaps out one problem for another, which is that likely you still have to move Jaylen Brown again to try and get the rebuilding assets that you need. Miami's at least offering the necessary amount of picks and young players. Now, Boston's got picks that they can throw into this deal too. So maybe that's the idea here. To me, this has always made more sense as a multi-team deal. That has always made more sense. But if they can't, multi-team deals are harder to get done because you have to get agreement from everybody, and everybody's got to stay in agreement. They can't waver or shift or fall apart. So that's why Miami as a 2-team deal makes more sense. But if it's a 2-team deal, Milwaukee's going to walk away with a pretty bad offer.
I was going to, the Miami Heat offer is, and look, you know how much I respect you. We have you on the show because you're the expert, right? The proposed trade is terrible for Giannis, right, from Miami. Yeah. Matt, I said at the start of the show, this is like the guy in your fantasy football league. You've got Bijan Robinson, and he's offering you Jaden Reed and Tyrone Tracy for Bijan Robinson. Like there's one of these in every fantasy football league, and now like Pat Riley's the guy. Like, am I missing something here, or is this a brutal offer for Giannis from Miami?
Oh, it's brutal. It's terrible. And this is like what happens when look. First off, you're never going to get even close to good return. You're not even gonna, if you get 80% for your star, you've done really well. Like the Pelicans got Josh Hart and Brandon Ingram and Lonzo Ball and multiple picks for Anthony Davis. That's close, right? Now, they didn't do anything with any of those, but at least the value side, that was a pretty good return. Typically speaking, though, you're not going to get anywhere close to what the value is as a player if you're trading a superstar. However, I think the worst part with the Miami deal is that even the young guys, like, you're just not going to be excited about, we got Jaime Jaquez, 6th man of the year, runner-up. Great. Awesome. Khalil Ware. Hey, a guy that Spo doesn't trust. That's who our signature piece of this draft is. The 13th pick in the draft. It's a terrible offer. But again, this kind of gets into Jaylen Brown for Giannis is closer to approximate value, but it just creates another problem for Milwaukee, which is trying to figure out how do you build around Jaylen Brown, or how do you move Jaylen Brown for the kind of assets that you need? Like, they have to recoup their draft capital that Portland owns, by the way, and Portland's known to have interest in Jaylen Brown. They have to get a young stud that they can really kind of build around. They have to redirect the entire franchise. There's so much work that Milwaukee's going to have to do after this trade, and none of the teams are in position to offer them the ability to do that.
Let's talk about Jaylen Brown for a second, and just let's assume that it happens in some way, shape, or form. Jaylen Brown to Milwaukee and other stuff is involved, but let's just say that's the trade that happens. Jaylen Brown, Matt, and I want you to, if you agree or disagree with this assessment, I look at Jaylen Brown as being the Michael Jordan of Jeremy Grant's. Like, I feel like Jaylen Brown would like nothing more than to go to Milwaukee and be the guy, capital T, capital G. And yes, he'd be leaving Boston to go to a team that like can't contend the way the Celtics can. Hasn't Jaylen Brown pretty much made it clear to everybody that his interest is being the guy more than it necessarily is with winning a championship? Am I missing something here? Or wouldn't Jaylen Brown enjoy this?
I don't think it's an either or for him, though, because it's not an either or for superstars in this day and age. They don't want I'm willing to give up chasing a championship for my own team. I want my own team and I want to win a championship. They want all of it, right? And some of the teams that have been mentioned are teams that are closer to playoff contention, right? It's Portland and Atlanta, the two teams that have been most mentioned as Jaylen Brown suitors. I think there's a possibility of there being other teams. But those are two teams that I think that, fit the mold of what Brown's looking for. A team that's young, that's playoff capable, that Brown could take to another level. That makes the most sense as a place for him to go to.
Matt Moore is with us on the show. Stud NBA writer, columnist, podcaster, Action Network, Buckets, Locked On NBA, Substack on his Twitter profile, @HP Basketball. Now, I'm going to phrase this question this way. Is Shams wrong? It's that, do you expect something different from because I'm sure Shams is reporting what he's got right now when he says it's going to be a 2-team deal. So when it's all said and done, and Giannis is dealt presumably before round 1 of the NBA draft tomorrow night at 8 o'clock Eastern, and this deal gets done, is it a 2-team deal or do you think it's a 3-team deal? And what's your best guess as to what the final, the teams are in this trade for Giannis?
So, look, I think if Shams reported that this morning, then he's got, I trust Shams because Shams is Shams, right? My best intuition based off of not only what I've heard, but the logic involved is that it's a multi-team deal. Minnesota had made calls about Rudy Gobert and Julius Randle to try and find a third team to take those assets for Milwaukee. They had talked in that construct. Boston, my understanding is that had talked to Portland about Jaylen Brown going to Portland, and then the pick assets that Portland owns of Milwaukee going back to Milwaukee. There's been so much talk of these 3-team deals, it just makes a lot more sense. And the movement on Saturday was significantly towards that multi-team deal construct, and that everyone had heard about that construct of Tyler Hero to Detroit, and then other people getting involved to take on more players, to send more draft picks back to Milwaukee. I still kind of expect it to be a 3-team deal. If it doesn't, it likely means that Milwaukee has kind of given up the ghost and is like, all right, this is too complicated. We can't get it done. We're out of time. All right, Miami, we'll take the whole package. We'll take the whole thing, Tyler Hero included. I would tell you that if it's a 3-team deal, I think it's Miami. Or if it's a 2-team deal, it's Miami. If it's a 3-team deal, it could be Miami or Boston, I think is the best way to put it right now.
Give me the pie chart of the percentages that you would assign to the most likely teams that they get this done when it's all said and done.
Okay. He stays in Milwaukee at 0. I would put Miami north of 50%. So I would put him at probably 60%, Boston 30%, Minnesota 5%, and then the rest fits into that 5% category.
If Giannis goes to Miami, and presumably they're trading the entire team except for Bam Adebayo, how in the world is that team competing for a championship this season?
That's a lot of. I don't think it is, and that's one of the reasons I think the negotiations have been tough. Because I think Miami really wants to hold back stuff to try and compete with, or at least to be able to trade again. And Milwaukee's like, that's your problem, not ours, which is what they should do. It's Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, Andrew Wiggins, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and Bam Adebayo. And I'm like, the question I asked last night on a podcast was, all right, is Davion Mitchell, Norman Powell, Wiggins, Giannis, Bam? It's better than Toronto, who is a 5 seed this year. How much better? How much better is that team than the 5 seed Raptors next year? And that's like, that I think is like how you kind of put it. I still think they're pretty far away. I just don't think that they're in a position to contend, but I'm sure the weather will be very nice.
If it's Giannis to Boston, if that's the trade, in some way, shape, or form, the Boston Celtics will finish where next year in the Eastern Conference?
I'll say second. I'll say they'll be in second again, which is exactly where they were right now. I think you lose.
By the way, my friend, we have some gigantic breaking news in the NBA. Gigantic. So are you sitting down? This is not Giannis related. This comes courtesy of Adam Schefter, Shams Charania, and Pete Thamel. Dusty May, who just won the national championship at the University of Michigan, is going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. So Dusty May will be replacing Jason Kidd as the next coach of the Mavericks to coach Cooper Flagg in this Mavericks rebuild. Matt, your unvarnished thoughts upon hearing this again. Dusty May will be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks per a cavalcade of notable insiders and reporters.
That's a fascinating hire. It makes sense for how the Dallas Mavericks have conducted this kind of search and who they've looked at and how they've kind of done things historically. It makes a lot of sense that they wound up going that direction. I had heard Mike Nori was close on that deal and was ultimately told they were going to go in a different direction. I would not be surprised if Nori winds up with the Blazers. May, I think, obviously, has a championship caliber coach. Makes a lot of sense for him to be able to get this opportunity following kind of the blueprint of Billy Donovan winning championships and then going to the NBA. Young guy, still has a lot of opportunity in front of him. Pretty phenomenal, I think, fit as far as you want a young coach who's got the ability to, at 49, who's still got the ability to grow Cooper Flagg with college experience. I think it's a pretty good fit there.
This guy's glow up. Just like imagine a couple of years ago in the 8-9 game if FAU loses to Penny Hardaway in Memphis. How this goes for Dusty May. Instead, they win that, go to the Final Four, goes to Michigan, wins a national championship. Now he's the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. That's unbelievable. Now, I'm thinking about this in the moment. The Mavericks have the 9th pick in the draft tomorrow night. Does this, Matt, and we're spitballing in the moment right now. Like, are they just going to take Ade Mara or Yaxel Landeborg now, like one of the Michigan players? Am I overthinking this here at 9th overall tomorrow night?
Yeah, because the work's already been done from the GM side on who they're gonna draft. That's not going to be probably. Maybe we'll have like input on it, but I don't think that it's going to be like, hey Dusty, which of your college players do you want? Now I think Mara's on the board there, and it could be a fit. But I do think that they've talked a lot about moving back. Is the interesting part there. So this news coming in tandem with what we heard about them potentially moving back, I think is very interesting. If they do move back and they think that they can get Mara or Landenborg later, that would make a lot of sense. Now, I don't know how much further back you can get those guys, but there's been a lot of talk about them moving back with OKC and Memphis and moving a player to clear up their cap sheet as well in doing that kind of deal. So this, I think, adds another layer of intrigue on top of that.
Can I hit you with, we're like 20 minutes in already, but like we got this breaking news. Can I hit you with a couple more here? You have a couple more minutes for us? I got a couple more things to hit you with if so.
Yeah, I got time, man.
Best guess, and again, we just gave you the news. Dusty May is going to be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. I'll give you my opinion on that coming up in the next segment. But Dusty May will be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks leaving Michigan. What is your best guess right now, Matt, or something that you may have heard about the future of LeBron James as it concerns the Lakers or other teams this summer? We know LeBron on a European excursion right now with members of the 2016 Cavs.
Yeah, I'm pretty. There's been a lot of confidence that he's going to re-sign with the Lakers, which I'm a little skeptical of, given what the Lakers need to accomplish this summer. If they just bring back LeBron, and unless he takes a minimum, which would just be the ultimate, like, okay, I'm just glad to live in LA. Doesn't care about the money, doesn't care about the respect of getting a better contract. Just like, I really do just want to stay in LA. Maybe that happens. There's a lot of talk continuing about him going to the Warriors. The Warriors are very serious about LeBron. Like, they are very serious about him being kind of the missing component and doing this, old dogs thing up there with Jimmy Butler and Steph Curry and Draymond and him. Trying to get that deal done, I think, would be difficult from a financial perspective, but I would not be surprised if they attempt to get that deal done. I think that the Warriors are very serious about trying to get LeBron James added to that team. If you ask me where I think he's going to end up at this point, I thought it was going to be Cleveland. I was just like, this makes the most sense. This is like the story. This is where it happens. All of these types of things. But the more that everything kind of sounds like, no one's expecting him to go to Cleveland. It sounds like he's going to be in California. He's either going to be with the Lakers or the Warriors. But I honestly don't think that LeBron has really sat down and decided what he wants to do yet. I think he is in family mode. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. Finish, please.
I think he's given, I think for him, a lot of this is that he gives so much of his time to the season, and this is when he can actually be with his family. So like, this is like, I am here, I am present. I'll make that decision when the time is when it's time to make that decision.
Just your opinion, as I consider you to be a brilliant basketball mind, just your opinion, like no one else's opinion, not LeBron's opinion, your opinion. Doesn't it make much more sense for LeBron to go to Golden State than it does to re-sign with the Lakers? And shouldn't the Lakers be okay with letting him walk if the whole plan is to build something around Luka and Luka could opt out in 2 years? Shouldn't you want to take that money for LeBron and spend it on someone that can help you win 2-3 years from now to make sure Luka comes back and LeBron can go to Golden State and team up with Curry and Jimmy? Like, what am I missing here? Isn't that the obvious outcome? Or maybe you think I'm missing something.
No, I think it's an obvious outcome. I think that, I personally can't believe that he's really going to end his career potentially with the Golden State Warriors, who was maybe his biggest career rival. It's either them or the Celtics. Like, the idea of finishing with the guy that he battled for so many years, there's some level of symmetry to it, but I'm also like, really? Like, that's how you're going to go out? At the same time, him staying with the Lakers is just, he's comfortable in LA. That's it. He's got business interests there. He has so much work that he does off the court in terms of production and everything else in LA, and his family loves living there. Like, that's all it's about. There's no real reason for him to stay with the Lakers.
Do you think he'll take less money?
They're further away.
Is he going to take less money?
I think he has to. He's making $52 million this year. There's no way you can pay $52 million for a 42-year-old LeBron. You can't do it. So like, he's taking less money. There's no scenario in which he doesn't do that. There's just not room. The Lakers can't build the type of team that they want to, and that's why they've continuously said, we'd love to have LeBron James back, is what they've continuously said. And what they don't say there, the parenthetical there, the unspoken part is, as long as he takes a pay cut so we can actually build the team that we need. They're working on trades for a center. They're working on trying to add 3-and-D wings. They have to handle the Austin Reeves situation. Like, there's a lot of stuff that the Lakers have to do to try and get in position to actually build a contender around Luka. And LeBron, honestly, just isn't really part of that. He's still very good. He's just not part of building a contender around Luka Doncic.
A couple more, and Matt, you've been very generous with your time. Our friend Matt Moore from the Action Network. If you had to construct, I would like for you to do two things for us, if you'd be so kind. Number one, that includes LeBron James. So LeBron comes back to the Lakers. Construct the A+ Grand Slam home run Lakers offseason. So what can they, like, things that are feasible that could happen? And then, if it does happen, can that team beat either Oklahoma City or San Antonio next year in the playoffs?
Yeah, see, I don't see that happening because I'm skeptical of Austin Reeves and Luka together. Like, if you told me to build a hypothetical, it would be that they trade Luka Doncic, or they're not Luka Doncic, they trade Austin Reeves, sorry. They traded Austin Reeves for a major significant wing, like a major great defender.
Can you give me a name?
Kind of caliber.
Just like someone, just for context, doesn't have to be like the exact guy, but just for the listeners and viewers to be like, this is the kind of person Matt's thinking about.
Yeah, I'll shout out like Paul George, but it's going to be somebody younger than Paul George. So that's the kind of idea. Like you move out Austin Reeves for a Paul George type. You've got Luka, a good wing on the perimeter. You trade for Isaiah Stewart or Khalil Ware, and you add them as a rim runner in pick and roll. With Luka,
this team's not beating Oklahoma City or San Antonio, right?
No.
Khalil Ware, come on.
There's no,
and this is why it makes no sense for LeBron to go back. It makes no sense for the Lakers.
Yes. There's no construct where the Lakers are going to jump ahead of OKC and San Antonio. You're trying to basically hope that those two teams are worse next year, and you're able to get within range, and then Luka gets you past it. That's the goal. But they are going to try and build a rim runner with wings on the perimeter. I know. So, like, here's a good example of what you're talking about. One of the names I've heard that's like very high on their target list is Tari Eason. Like, if you get Tari Eason, are you like, oh man, got it? Like, we now we can beat San Antonio and OKC. Tari Eason's a good player. Can you beat anybody serious with Tari Eason? Does that put you above those guys? I think Tari's really great. I think he gets you closer, but he doesn't get you over the hill there. There's no scenario where the Lakers are favored in the Western Conference or second favorite in the Western Conference next year.
Our friend Jeff Goodman from the Field of 68, he'll be on the show tomorrow, tweeted out moments ago that John Shire, there was mutual interest with Shire and the Dallas Mavericks. Shire opts to stay at Duke, and the Mavericks turn their attention and hire Dusty May. So it could have been Shire coaching Cooper Flagg like he did at Duke, but instead it'll be Dusty May as the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Matt, final one for you here, and I love you, and I really appreciate it. We're 27 minutes in. Thank you very much. We haven't gotten to the draft yet because there's been all this other stuff going on that's been important. If I asked you right now, your best guess, picks 1 through 4 tomorrow night. The Wizards at 1, Jazz at 2, Grizz at 3, Bulls at 4. What is your best guess as to what the order of players will be tomorrow night at the top of the draft?
AJ Dabonsa to the Wizards, Cameron Boozer to the Jazz, Darren Peterson to the Grizzlies, and Caleb Wilson to the Chicago Bulls. I think that's the most likely outcome of tomorrow's draft. There is a high level of confidence. There's extremely high level of confidence Caleb Wilson goes 4. That top 3, though, Jazz have said consistently from people I've talked to that they do not know, like they have not made a decision. As of like last night, they've not made a decision on who they're going to draft.
That's not true, right? With Danny Ainge in charge. Danny knows who he's taking, right?
I think Danny has a very strong feeling, but they're more of a collaborative group now. And I think that it is very, very close. And I think they don't know what the Wizards are going to do either. And the Wizards, I will say to their credit, the Wizards and the Jazz and the Grizzlies have all been very closed off organizations. They don't telegraph. They just don't let stuff out. Like they have not shared what they're going to do. Peterson has made it clear that he wants to go number 1, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the Wizards are going to take him number 1. So I still think it's going to be AJ. I think then Boozer second to Utah, and then Peterson falls third to Memphis.
This is actually the final question. If Cam Boozer goes ahead of either Darren Peterson or AJ Dabonsa, Matt Moore will say what about that decision in the aftermath?
If Boozer goes ahead of Dabonsa?
Or Peterson. So let's say, the scenario you just laid out, Dabonsa goes 1, Boozer goes 2, Boozer goes ahead of Peterson or Dabonsa. Your reaction will be what?
Right move. I think Cameron Boozer is the number 1 pick in this draft. I think he is by far the best player. I think he makes the most impact. He is going to win you games. Cameron Boozer is going to win you games. Darren Peterson is going to get you highlights. Now, I think Peterson could be a great guard, could be absolutely phenomenal. Like his upside is incredible. but there are so many questions. He averaged 1.5 assists as a guard. The history of Kansas wings, not good. So to me, Cameron Boozer should absolutely be ahead of Darren Peterson, and I think he should be ahead of AJ Debonsa. If you ask me for my board, it would be number 1, Cameron Boozer, number 2, AJ Debonsa, number 3, Caleb Wilson, number 4, Darren Peterson.
Do you have to go, or can I ask you one more question? You can go if you need to.
I'm
no
here.
problem.
I'm here, buddy.
Okay.
I'm here, buddy.
So I think Cam Boozer is awesome also. I think there are people that look at Cameron Boozer, right, and maybe see right, wrong, or indifferent, and I believe it's wrong. Jabari Parker, Jahlil Okafor. Like, let's say maybe a bigger power forward who's not quite a center. Is his game going to translate to the NBA level? If I asked you right now to give me a pro comparison for Boozer, and this does not mean Matt Moore is guaranteeing Boozer will be this guy, because I think a lot of people have the wrong impression of Cam Boozer in their heads. Who is a player right now in the NBA that you think Cam Boozer's game could mirror, that can make people go, oh, I see it now, why teams love Boozer and why Matt Moore thinks Cam Boozer could be the best player in the draft?
This is offense only. Okay, defensively, it's a lot tougher with Boozer. That's the
however
concern
you
with
want to
him.
answer. However you want to answer the question.
Yeah. I'm just setting it up. This is offense only because the other player was much better defensively, way better defensively, and there's a lot of questions about Boozer's defense. I think of him. I think he is wing Al Horford. That is what I think he can do. Al Horford came into this league and made the playoffs every single year, except one season in his entire career he missed the playoffs. He did everything. He was a good passer. He was a good rebounder. He was a good connector. He was a good scorer. He learned to shoot from range. He learned to be a three-point shooter. He has mid-range. All of these things. That's what I see with Boozer, is that he is the ultimate connector. He fits and makes better whatever it is that you have. He will help you in whatever area you need. And those players are very easy to build around. And to me, like, that's the best comp here, is that he is, if you took Al Horford and you moved him to the wing, that to me is like the biggest differential here.
Would you, just betting question to wrap, Cam Boozer is plus 2,200 at BetMGM to go first, plus 200 to go second. Either of those wagers wet your whistle for tomorrow night?
I think the number 2 pick is worth betting. I just think that Darren Peterson, I think a lot of that is coming out of the idea of his pre-draft stock, which is often very powerful, his pre-draft stock, his pre-combine stock, rather, pre-lottery stock, and then based off of just like how much his camp is talking. Boozer's camp has talked a lot less, but there's so many connections with him to Utah. To me, it makes sense to bet on the idea. I don't think it's that Peterson is so much ahead of Boozer to not make that. That should be at least even minus 110, minus 110 both ways on number 2 pick Cameron Boozer. Can't go number 1. I think he should, but I don't think that's where the Wizards are looking. I think it's either AJ or Peterson with Boozer going second.
You're such a stud, dude. I appreciate you so much. Thank you for the time.
Anytime, man. Take care.
My friend Matt Moore joining the show at HP Basketball on Twitter. You can check out his Substack there. Action Network, Buckets Podcast, Locked On NBA. The guy is absolutely the best. Okay, we desperately need to take a break to get back on track here in terms of commercials. But man, like, think about what we just had there. Matt telling you Cam Boozer is the best player in the draft. Wow. Is Cam Boozer going to go ahead of Darren Peterson tomorrow night? We know Cam's dad, Carlos Boozer, works for the Utah Jazz, played in Utah. Is Cam Boozer going to go second? Could he go first? And Dusty May leaving Michigan after winning the national championship, he will be the next head coach for Cooper Flagg of the Dallas Mavericks. Got to give you more reaction on Dusty May on the other side going to Dallas, and we will get to the World Cup in the United States as well here on a Monday on You Better You Bet.
comment that I was flattered about a certain job opening because of my background, and that was misconstrued, and so I just decided I'm never going to comment on any job that I don't have. I think it's well documented how happy I am at Michigan.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
So Dusty May, that's the voice of Dusty May talking about, people interested in him. Had a pretty good year, won the national championship at Michigan. This segment on You Better You Bet sponsored by Progressive Commercial Insurance, protecting your business vehicles 24/7. See if you can save at progressivecommercial.com, progressivecommercial.com. I mean, the glow up is through the roof. And this is one of the great sliding doors moments in sports now, right? So a couple years ago, 8-9 game in the NCAA tournament. It was a great 8-9 game with Memphis and Florida Atlantic. Dusty May is coaching FAU. No one knows who he is. You're a big college basketball fan, you do, but the vast majority of sports fans have no idea who Dusty May is. So Dusty, if I had asked you before the game, so before FAU and Memphis in the first round a couple years ago, if I had asked you, hey, think about this, which of these two head coaches do you think has a better chance of coaching an NBA team in 2 or 3 years? Penny Hardaway or Dusty May? Your response would have been, who the hell is Dusty May? Of course it's Penny Hardaway. Shout out to Kendrick Davis. FAU wins that game. And if you remember, the 116 matchup that year was Fairleigh Dickinson was FDU knocking out Purdue. So then FAU gets past FDU, and FAU goes on the magical run to the Final Four, and Dusty May's name goes on the map, and then he gets hired by Michigan, wins the national championship in year 2 at Ann Arbor with the best team, one of the best teams money can buy. God bless him. They bulldoze their way to a national championship and played terribly in the national title game against UConn, and UConn blew that game. I said that the day after. I still believe that. But credit to Michigan for winning the national championship. And Dusty May has now parlayed that into being the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. If FAU loses that game to Memphis, that 8-9 game a couple years ago in the first round, do you think there's any chance in hell Dusty May is the head coach of the Dallas Mavericks? That's incredible. Incredible. Unbelievable. Will Dusty May succeed as the coach of the Dallas Mavericks? I have no idea. No idea. But do I think it's a worthy swing of the bat, roll of the dice from new GM Masai Ujiri and the Mavericks? Absolutely. Of course. I really like it. I like it on paper. I don't know if it'll work. Also, how good are the Mavericks going to be next season? We'll see what they do. Matt Moore was just on with us for a half an hour. Appreciate Matt's time. Maybe they'll try and trade back, acquire more assets. But, they have one of the best young players in the league in Cooper Flagg. Now, again, I'm not going to say Dallas is going to be great next year, especially in a brutal Western Conference. But you see the vision for the Mavericks hiring Dusty May. And congratulations to him. 4 years ago, FAU went 19-15. Final Four, Michigan, national champion, NBA. The glow-up of all glow-ups for Dusty May. On the other side, why a semifinal appearance in the World Cup by the United States should not surprise anyone here on Westwood One Sports.
fizzing it back. Serginho Dest blocked. Still in. Might be two. Is two. Or maybe not. The flag comes up for offside.
After factual review, the goal scorer was not in offside position. Goal is correct.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It's time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. Fox Sports, courtesy of The Call, John Strong on Friday, as the United States beat Australia 2-0 to clinch Group D and set up what could be, and we'll see how some of the other results play out, could be a pretty advantageous path forward in the knockout stage. And for those of you in the audience that are looking for your World Cup fix, our friend Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer will join us 10 minutes from now to talk all things World Cup. But as far as the United States are concerned, and I said this on the show after the opening win against Paraguay, not that it was like an earth-shattering opinion by me, but I thought it was worth saying because it's true. This is pretty clearly the best American soccer team of my lifetime. And I know in 2002, beat Portugal 3-2 in the opener and went to the quarterfinals and lost to Oliver Kahn in Germany, who lost in the finals to Brazil, and it was a pretty close game. And that 2002 team was pretty good, no question about it. Beat Mexico in the first knockout stage game, 2-0. This team's different. And all you have to do is watch them to see it. Now, I don't think 2-0 was an incredibly fair scoreline to the Aussies. And it's worth noting, like, Christian Pulisic didn't play in the game, who is arguably the United States' best player. Flo Balogun's emergence has kind of brought that into question. But at the very least, Pulisic is one of the 2 or 3 most important players on the American team. Didn't play in the game. They won 2-0. I think it's fair to say we all watched the game, right? United States could have absolutely conceded to Australia. Now, maybe not enough for a 2-2 draw or to lose the game. Maybe it's just 2-1. But I think probably a bit fortunate for the United States to keep a clean sheet in the win against Australia. Now, I say that to say this, and this is not an earth-shattering opinion either. The United States is not going to win the World Cup this year. They're not going to. Because eventually they're going to run into Spain or England or France or Brazil, whomever, Argentina, and they'll lose that game. Because for as much fun as the attacking prowess is for the United States, and as much as we love Mauricio Pochettino, the Argentine coach, I don't think the defense and the goalkeeping is going to be good enough. And it's not like no one thinks they're going to win, but I just wanted to say that, right? I don't think they can win. But that doesn't mean that they can't make a run to the semis. The most likely first knockout stage game, which will be July 1st in Santa Clara. Like, they're locked into July 1st in Santa Clara. Right now, and things can change, right, is against either Bosnia or Qatar. Could the U.S. lose that game? Of course. Do I think they would lose? No. I think they would win. And then they're in the quarters. And maybe it's Belgium in the quarters. Did anyone watch Belgium have a scoreless draw against Iran yesterday? Like, this Belgian team is not evoking memories of the third-place finisher in 2018, the golden generation, with Eden Hazard and company. The United States can absolutely beat Belgium. I think they'd be favored in that game against the Belgians. Now, look, there are some nightmares tonight. If the United States has to play Ecuador, and I'll talk more about this with Dabbundo next hour, that's not a great matchup. Not that they can't win, but Ecuador is really good and has gotten unlucky, hasn't scored yet in this tournament, but has 39 shots in 2 games. Like, the worm will start turning for Ecuador at some point. But the United States, the ceiling is to make the semifinal of this World Cup. And how crazy that would be if it happened. Now, perhaps next hour on the show, maybe I'll do a little bit with Dabbundo next hour. Like, think about this, right? The stage that all of this is on, not just the World Cup, but being in North America and in the United States. And the kids that are watching this. If the USA goes on a significant run here, makes it deep into this tournament, more young athletes want to play soccer. I think the United States is going to win a World Cup this century. Why not? Why not us? Final hour, Power Hour coming up next. All our bets for tonight. Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer starts it off talking World Cup right after this here on a Monday.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos and the crew. Presented by BetMGM on Westwood One Sports.
Bring it up, Kenny. Final hour. Power hour. You Better You Bet on Westwood One Sports. Nick Kostos, our crew. Anthony Dabbundo, and you. Power hour and every hour here on You Better You Bet, brought to you by BetMGM. Make it legendary by downloading the BetMGM app and visiting BetMGM.com. All our bets for tonight, today, and tomorrow. I got a parlay that rolls into tomorrow at the World Cup. We'll close the show. I think we're going to end up talking about this Brady. I want to say this really slowly so I don't get fired. Tkachuk. The Brady Tkachuk trade from Ottawa to the Florida Panthers and what it means for the Eastern Conference next year in the National Hockey League. That's coming up in a little bit. But joining us right now, there are some that are saying that the face and the voice of this year's World Cup is not Thierry Henry, Zlatan Ibrahimovic. Everyone hates Alexi. I don't mind Alexi Lalas. Everyone hates Alexi Lalas right now. Some people think it's one of those three, or Rebecca Lowe, who I think is fantastic. They're all wrong. The face and voice of the World Cup this year is our friend, Anthony Dabbundo, who's doing an amazing job for our friends at The Ringer on Twitter at his name, at Anthony Dabbundo, joining us here on a Monday to talk some footy. What's going on, my friend? How was the weekend?
The weekend was fabulous. I found some time away from the footy, thanks to Spain going up 4-0 at the half. I was like, well, I don't really need to watch the second half of this game. But ultimately, the bracket is starting to take some shape. Teams are starting to clinch. Teams are starting to get eliminated. It's starting to feel a little real. We've got France and Philly this week. And then, of course, we've got the GOAT at 1 p.m. So I'm excited.
Yeah, today is absolutely awesome. France in action, Norway and Erling Haaland in action, Argentina, Leo Messi in action. We'll get to all of those games coming up in a little bit. But let's start, my friends, with the United States, who beat Australia 2-0 on Friday with no Christian Pulisic. Before we talk about what's next for the United States, I'm curious your thoughts on Team USA's performance in that game, because while I think they were a worthy winner in that game, I think it's also fair to say probably a little lucky to keep a clean sheet in this game against the Aussies, which might not portend well moving forward in this tournament. But just your impressions first of Team USA's win on Friday over the Aussies.
Yeah, I thought they didn't create nearly as many clear chances as they did against Paraguay. And I thought you felt the absence of Pulisic in the sense that when they had that final third possession, when they were able to strangle Australia in the first half, they still didn't create a ton. I mean, if you look at the goals, right, the first goal, excellent cutback, you get a lucky bounce, but still, that's a good attacking move to get to the byline, to get in behind a set defense is very difficult. So that's credit to the U.S., and certainly they benefited from that. But from that point forward, it wasn't like they were peppering the goal. The second goal comes off of a set piece that leads to a deflection, and Alex Freeman's the first to react. That's great. But the goalie's kind of out of position because he's diving one way and then has to get up. So it was kind of a weird sequence that led to the second goal, and ultimately, by XG, their biggest chance of the match. There weren't a ton of Balogun opportunities, so I think you saw the absence of Pulisic there. Second half, though, I actually was somewhat encouraged because while they didn't have as much control of the game, it wasn't as if Australia created a ton of chances. I mean, they had 3 or 4 shots, around 0.3 expected goals. It was not like the U.S. is getting peppered, Matt Freese having to make a ton of saves. Like that's not how I felt. Again, they're going to play much better attacking teams with much better players than Australia going forward, maybe. But I thought they held up pretty well defensively. I think it was really the absence of Pulisic that showed up for me.
So I know you have crunched the numbers. You've been tweeting about it. I go to your Twitter multiple times a day during that. I mean that sincerely, at Anthony Dabbundo. So you're doing an awesome job with this. What is right now, and this is not set in stone, it's not in pen, this is in pencil, right? What do you believe right now is the most likely path in the knockout stages for Team USA? The first knockout stage game will be July 1st in Santa Clara. And just so the audience knows, the United States has won its group. They are playing Turkey later this week. The anticipation is players will sit in that game. The result of that game has no impact over where the United States will play, the date that they will play, etc. They have won the group already. So what is the most likely scenario here for Team USA?
Yeah, this is the beauty of the expanded format and the pain of the expanded format. I keep seeing all these graphics, as it stands, the USA would play Ecuador. Well, as it stands, Ecuador is probably out. Unless they beat Germany, right? So the as it stands brackets are meaningless. Stop looking at them. They will only confuse you. They will only mislead you. I want to make that my PSA from this moment. But I think right now there are 4 groups, Group A, Group E, Group G, Group H, who are the least likely to send 3 teams. And so what I've done is I've gone into the permutation machine and I said, okay, let's
is that a real machine?
You can just look on Wikipedia and it tells you like who plays which group. And
right, so Wikipedia, right, yes.
And if you go by those 4 groups not getting a 4th team, which basically means that Germany does not lose to Ecuador with their rotated team, that Mexico does not lose to Czechia with their rotated team, that we don't see a crazy upset, right? That Spain doesn't lose to Uruguay and let Uruguay into the field. If those all come true, we start to get a crystallized picture of what the round of 32 draw actually looks like. And it's Mexico gets Scotland. It's England gets the 3rd place team. It's France plays Sweden. It's Germany probably gets Paraguay. The United States will get Bosnia or Qatar. If there's a winner in that match, that is who they will play. If there is a tie in that match, then throw out everything I just said because we're going to have to redo all the permutations again. That's why this is kind of confusing. I'm going to assume that in a game where a tie knocks both teams out, something is going to happen late in that match if there is a tie, and there will not be a tie. And somebody will win it, probably Bosnia, because Qatar is terrible. So Bosnia, round of 16, is the clear favorite, probably close to 70%. They will play them in the round of 32. Where it gets even trickier now is that Egypt won last night. Egypt now has a 2-goal edge over Belgium. Egypt gets a draw. Belgium's going to need to win by 3 or 4 goals minimum just to catch Egypt. If Egypt takes care of Iran, which I do think they will, they're going to win the group. They now become the seeded team in that round of 16 section with the United States. Who would they play? The 2 most likely groups are A, but A might not get a team, remember, and I, which is Norway and Senegal, who are going to play today, and the loser of that game will probably be 3rd place. So Norway, Senegal, Iran, Egypt, maybe the Czech Republic in the mix there if they're able to pull off an upset. Those are the teams that could be waiting for the United States in the round of 16.
If that's how it breaks. Now, United States against Norway would be interesting because Norway has Erling Haaland, right? But let's just say that that's the pod, right? Is the United States going to the semifinals?
Quarterfinals, yeah. I do think they are. I think they match up pretty well with Senegal. I think Norway presents unique opportunities. But
they just beat Senegal, in a friendly. Like literally a couple weeks ago, beat Senegal in a friendly.
Yes, and I do think Norway presents unique challenges with Haaland and Odegaard that maybe they have not seen a player of those attacking caliber in a while. Even the Germans, who have a great attacking group, don't have like the superstar, megastar like Erling Haaland. But I think Norway's got defensive flaws, and like we're going to see tonight how they do. I thought Iraq actually had a lot of good attacking moments against them in the opener, so I'm looking around like, what is the Norway defense? Because a lot of these Northern European defenses have not looked good in this tournament, and Norway is liable to be one of those as well. And then Senegal, we'll see. So yeah, I think they would be, with home field advantage, no worse than a toss-up in any of those games, and definitely favored against Egypt, definitely. Probably slight favorites over Senegal, probably a toss-up with Norway. It would probably be how the betting odds would see it, and I'd probably agree with those in large part. And then if they played Belgium, right, if Belgium's able to somehow find some form and win this group on the final day, honestly, with Doku likely not playing because of this potential situation with his paternity leave, I think they're favored over Belgium.
Wow. If it works out like this, the United States gets to the quarters, who do you think are a couple of the most likely opponents, and what chance would you give the United States in those games?
Spain. Spain is now the team, right?
So no chance.
Well, I mean, you tell me. You think they got a chance against Spain?
I mean, how many goals is Spain scoring in that game? Assuming like Yamal plays, right? Which we think he will. How many goals does Spain score? Yeah,
like a 3-1 Spain win. Yeah, I mean, look, and I think a lot of people are getting very excited, and I'm very excited. Right? I was bullish on this team. I didn't think they'd be this good. They don't win games like this very often. They don't win back-to-back World Cup games ever. They've only won by a couple of goals in World Cup 6 times. Like, this is rare air we're in here. The U.S. usually struggles. It usually comes down to the final day. I was looking. I couldn't find a single dead rubber the U.S. had ever played at the World Cup. Like, it is hard for them to kind of come to terms with the fact that this team is in a situation they've never been in before. But we're taking a really, really, really big leap to then say, well, Spain is in our sights. France is in our sights. England, Argentina. So Spain is that team. Now, the interesting thing for Spain, they'll probably play Austria or Algeria in the first round of the knockouts, depending on who wins that matchup next week. Whoever comes in second in that group will be their team. Then they could play Colombia or they could play Portugal, depending on who comes in second in that group out in Group K, or Croatia. So, like, if Spain gets Portugal in the round of 16, I know everybody's down on them and has come around to the idea that maybe they're not that good, but they're still very talented. I mean, they played Spain to a draw at the Nations League last year, beat them in a shootout. They played Colombia is a very tough team to beat. So, like, Spain doesn't have a cakewalk in the round of 16, but you would make them a pretty solid favorite to make the quarters. And that's why I think, like, you're comparing Spain and France's paths, right? They have like the same odds. France is going to play Germany round of 16, probably the Dutch in the quarters, and then Spain. Spain's going to get, potentially Colombia, USA. It's a pretty big difference in the path to get to the semifinals.
So I agree with what you just said there. There's no disagreeing with you. I think France would beat. I feel confident France would win both of those games against Germany and the Dutch, even while acknowledging that what you're saying is right. Like, I don't think France would lose to either of those countries. You agree or disagree?
Well, I've got a France to lose in the round of 16 at 4-1 bet that I'm going to be rooting on July 4th as Germany makes their trip to Philly. That's going to be the most exciting match of the tournament. I don't know if Germany's good enough defensively, but I'm interested to see France-Norway. That'll be a good test. Odds are France will need to play that game, right? If Norway gets a point tonight, Norway will still be in the running for the group win, assuming France beats Iraq as well. So it's like, all right, let's see what the France defense looks like, because they showed some real cracks against Senegal, cracks we haven't seen typically from a France defense. So I don't know. I mean, Germany-France, like, Germany can't defend in transition. France doesn't deal well with pressing teams. Like, both teams kind of have advantages. I think France is a favorite, but I'm not sure they're a huge favorite.
Our friend Anthony Dabbundo from The Ringer on the show, at Anthony Dabbundo, doing an amazing job breaking down the World Cup. You should be following him on social media if you are not. I check his feeds multiple times a day, every day, for incredible World Cup insight. And I'm not just saying that because he's on the show with us right now. So Spain, in its opener, draw 0-0 against Cape Verde. And then my mom was born in Uruguay, and there are members of my mom's family that are very displeased right now that Uruguay drew 2-2 yesterday with Cape Verde. But this is not a Uruguay question. This is a Spain question. So Spain draws 0-0. Lamine Yamal comes on at the end of the game, but they can't get the winner. And it's a terrible result for Spain and a great result for Cape Verde. Yesterday, as you mentioned, Spain jumps out to a 4-0 halftime lead against Saudi Arabia and just rides the game out. Yamal scores the opener for Spain. Your impressions of Spain coming out of that game are what and why?
I mean, this is what we thought we were getting. Spain's given up 0.25 expected goals in 2 matches. That's like 0, basically. It's a rounding errors worth of chances. They have created over 5.5 expected goals. Yes, they ran into a hot goalie. They had a poor finishing day. They didn't have Yamal and Nico Williams. All those things come together, and sometimes that just happens in soccer. Like, I know it's crazy. We're all amazed by Cape Verde, and look, it's an amazing story. But, like, sometimes you create a lot of chances and you don't score, and that's the game. And Spain has done that more than other teams. So I think when Spain does it, we're like, well, that's kind of funny when Spain does it, especially when they're shorthanded. But again, I mean, Oyarzabal has a better game. Thought he was unusually poor in the opener. He gets 2. Now he's sort of inserted himself into that golden boot race a little bit. And we kind of got what we expected. I think Spain has proven themselves that they're going to be able to press and possess and dominate with their midfield against most teams. It's just a matter of, like, can they finish and can they avoid defensive lapses? They were my number 1 team. I stand by it. I didn't waver from it off of the first 90 minutes. Lamine Yamal is only going to get healthier and better. They're not going to need him for their Uruguay match, so I imagine he only plays like a half again. They just have to avoid defeat. But, they also could knock Uruguay out of the tournament if they beat them. So that's a really interesting final match. I'll be excited for it. I think they're playing at Elevation, or it's in Mexico. So that'll be a good test for them as well.
What did you make of Brazil's performance in the 3-0 win over Haiti and Rafinha, who's an absolute stud, and his potential health moving forward for Brazil?
Yeah, matters a lot. I think it was an underrated part. Like if you had told me Brazil's going to win 3-0, but they're going to lose Rafinha in the first half, and now his status is in doubt. Like I took Scotland plus 1.5 off the rip in terms of betting. Like I was like, this is going to be Scotland's incentivized to keep it tight, right? They need to avoid a pasting. If they get pasted, they're in danger of not moving on because the goal difference gets a little dicey if they lose by 2, 3, 4. So they're going to be playing it real tight. Now, Haiti plays not like your traditional underdog. They were not a park the bus team. They play with a pretty high line, and I thought that played a little bit into Brazil's hands. Brazil was just constantly hunting to try to time up that run to get Vinny or Rafinha in behind. They did a couple of times. They scored some nice goals. Ultimately, Brazil coming up with like 12 shots, 10 shots. It was not the kind of control that you expect from a Brazil team when they're playing a team like Haiti. But I think Scotland will be another good test for them. I still think they're a little bit at risk of not winning this group. And if they don't win this group, all of a sudden it opens the door for them to, end up playing Japan potentially, maybe in the round of 32. Like I think Japan matches up pretty well with Brazil. So Brazil's still a team I have my eye on. I have not been overly impressed with their first 180 minutes of this tournament.
And didn't Japan and Brazil play in the World Cup? Was it last World Cup that they played, or a couple World Cups ago they played in a knockout stage game?
Brazil played Korea at the last World Cup.
Okay, I think Japan played Brazil, maybe in the 18 or 14 World Cup. But in any event, Portugal play tomorrow against Uzbekistan after Portugal's 1-1 draw to start the tournament. And obviously the huge story is Cristiano Ronaldo. Should he be starting for Portugal? Is he kind of like ruining the attacking flow of this team? He's one of the most recognizable players in the sport, one of the most recognizable athletes in the world. Anthony, your expectations for Cristiano Ronaldo in Portugal tomorrow and moving forward?
I mean, look, this is danger zone now. They need a win. They end up running the risk of being the Uruguay, right? If they draw tomorrow and they don't get by Uzbekistan and you have 2 points from 2, you need a draw against Colombia now. And that's going to be a really fun game in Miami to end the group stage. It's the final day of group play. And there's a world where a draw and a loss and you're out. So they need to win. The win puts them through tomorrow. A win gives them a chance to win the group on the final day. The bookmakers are still going to make them a favorite against Colombia. Whether I agree with that or not is to be seen later. But I think that Portugal needs to get Ronaldo a goal almost more than they need a win, because think the longer
he's a big minus price to score a goal tomorrow at BetM, minus 225 to score a goal tomorrow.
He was minus 140 in the opener. Did not score. Even bigger favorite against Uzbekistan. Look, I think like the market is still too high on Portugal. I think they're going to continue to take action from me, at least on Uzbekistan. But the question for me is like, can we see anything different tactically that we didn't see? Because like they're probably going to win just by sheer talent. But I'm interested in watching, like when you watch Portugal, are they changing their attacking strategy a little bit? Are they getting Fernandes deeper lying so he can play more passes over the top? Are they going to push Fernandes up so he can join the attack and try to combine with Ronaldo better? I think there's different ways that they can be more creative that we haven't seen. We didn't see. It was all very predictable stuff from Portugal in their opener, where it's like, all right, we circulate the ball, we get it out wide, we cross. We circulate the ball, we get it out wide, Ronaldo's isolated, we cross. And too much of that, for me, too much of this midfield getting kind of neutered by tactics and by Ronaldo and by the lack of really winger talent in this team. I think they need to switch up the 11. I don't think Ronaldo's going to be the one that gets switched up, though. I would be surprised if Bernardo Silva started, but we'll see on what they end up trying to do. I would love to get Conceição in the game. I think he gives them something different than Silva. Like, there's no doubt they're going to have control of this game, so try somebody who's going to be more aggressive, take more risk, like a Conceição to get in the penalty area. Bernardo Silva, at this point in his career, we know what he is, and it's not giving them a ton of dynamism.
And he just signed with Real Madrid and Jose Mourinho, Bernardo Silva. We are almost through the second wave of second group stage games. If I made you pick right now, the semifinals of the World Cup will be blank versus blank and blank versus blank.
I'll still say France, even though I think Germany's live. France, Spain, England, Argentina. I've felt from the beginning that these are the top four, and it would be pretty damn good. Pretty damn good. I think, the one team that's benefiting the most from all the chaos, besides the United States, is also Argentina, right? So as the winner of Group J, they're going to play their first game against the runner-up of Group H. Now, we all thought that was going to be Uruguay. Not anymore. Now it's probably going to be Cape Verde. So I know Cape Verde is a great story. I know Uruguay has struggled.
Dude, Argentina will slam Cape Verde. I mean, come on,
Argentina will be very happy to not have to get into a war with their continental rivals, where Uruguay who is still a talented team, who hasn't played well, but can blow up midfield and make that ugly. They'll be very happy to avoid them. And then they get, in the next round, the runner-up of Group G, the runner-up of Group D. So that's maybe Belgium's in there. They'll probably be okay playing Belgium. Runner-up from D, that's Australia.
Oh my god!
So they avoid the Turkey mess because they're out. And then in the quarterfinals, it's winner of Group B and winner of Group K. So Portugal might not win K anymore. So for me, the most likely quarterfinals, if you just play it out the chalk, right? It would be France and the Netherlands. It'd be Spain and the USA. Can't believe I'm saying this. It would be England and Brazil.
Whew.
If Brazil's able to win that group and hang on, or potentially Morocco if they don't, or potentially Japan if Japan upsets Brazil in that round of 32 game. And then in the bottom quarter, England and Colombia. Or sorry, Argentina and Colombia. Yeah. So
those
I
are
would favor
bangers.
Argentina there. But yeah, Argentina, England, Spain, France would be the four. And they were the four coming in for me. They all got put in sections where they could all meet in the semifinals. I was like, maybe something happens. I'm surprised by one of these teams. Maybe Argentina really is washed, but they didn't look at least so far. So that was how I mapped up the semis.
Final question for you. Any bets for today that you'd like to share with the audience in any of the three games? Or I guess there's four. One's one at midnight. Yeah.
Yeah, I bet under 2.5 in the opener here. The Messi game. Minus 114 out there, minus 110 out there. Now, one thing we've seen is the overs and the beach TSs have been crushing it. I think there is something with the goalies and the ball that has been postulated about. That we're running way over XG for the tournament. Finishing has been unbelievable. A lot of it's down to bad goalkeeping. I do wonder, and this is something Ben Foster talked about on his podcast. He was a former Premier League goalie, played at Wrexham as well. He talked about on his podcast that there's been a lot of kind of behind the scenes talk about the ball being kind of tough for the goalies. So that is probably a contributor to all the overs. A lot of it is also variance. There's going to be, and I think as we get in later part of this tournament, teams are kind of battening down the hatches, taking a little less risk. And Argentina, as a team themselves, don't really have a ton of width to exploit this press. So I think it's going to be a lot of ugly midfield stuff. Austria creating very little. Argentina winning, but not winning by margin. I think it's an ugly 1-0, 2-0 kind of win.
Dude, are you sleeping?
Yeah, I got a full night's sleep last night. It was great. I needed it. No morning games. We're getting by. I don't have to be up before 9:30, so I go to bed late, looking through some stuff, rewatch some games, rewatch the U.S. win. Saw a little bit of Portugal. I wanted to rewatch the second half of Portugal, and they were, you're just trying to see things you might have missed the first time, and I'm getting my sleep in.
Yeah, good luck. Good luck with Jordan and Algeria tonight. Starting.
Yeah,
at
that's one where you have
Eastern.
to decide. Do you want to? I'll be up tonight, but
me, I'll be sleeping.
Really?
You, I think you probably.
The Midnight Classic.
First off, I have a 2-year-old. Second off, I'm on the air at night. No. This is not Argentina and France playing at 11 o'clock. I can skip Algeria, Jordan. Before we let you go, we do a trivia question at the end of the show every day, as you know. The trivia question today is World Cup themed. Would you like to attempt to try and answer the question with me, courtesy of our executive producer, Bill Zimmerman?
Sure.
Bill, take it away.
All right, guys. Well, Nick, you were talking about how you thought the ceiling for the United States was the semifinals. So we have a semifinal themed World Cup here, Nick, and Anthony for that matter. All right. So this century, only 3 teams that do not come from South America or Europe have reached the World Cup semifinals. Can you name those 3 teams? And as a bonus, it's only happened 5 times since 1930. Can you name all 5 non-European, non-South American teams that have reached the World Cup semifinals?
I'm going to slam this question right now.
All time?
Also 3 this century, 5. So the United States is 1. Made the semifinals
United States in
the
1930,
30s.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Morocco just went to the semifinals in the last World Cup.
2022, yep.
South Korea went in 2002 when they were one of the hosts of the tournament.
Also correct.
All right, so that's 3. I'm pretty sure. Would you like to hazard a guess? Who's the other one this century? Like,
that's the one I'm trying to think about.
Can I ask a stupid question? This is Turkey is a European, so it's not Turkey. Okay, because Turkey went to the semifinals.
No, it actually is Turkey. 98% of Turkey is in Asia. So
so that's 4.
That's a trick question, though.
Okay, so we need one more.
You have one.
I'm
more.
throwing a yellow flag here because they play in the European continent, though. I was going to say Turkey, but that doesn't. Okay,
it's a little bit of a tricky one there, but yes.
I was thinking because Africa had never had a team, and I was like, I'm pretty sure Korea was the only true Asian AFC team, Asian Football Confederation. So I guess Turkey would be the other one.
And this is another team similar to Turkey that may have joint continents. That's a big hint.
Bulgaria?
No.
Bulgaria made it in 94.
Yes, it's
made
not
the
Bulgaria,
semifinals
though.
in 94.
They're fully in Europe.
They're fully in Europe.
I'm just like I'm naming weird countries that have made the semifinals. So it's Colombia, South American. Colombia can't be the answer. Would you like to fathom? Not Mexico.
I mean, like the Soviet Union, right?
Soviet Union in 1966.
Yeah, that was my only thought. It had to be like an Eastern Bloc or like the literal Soviet Union that made it.
This is a BS question, right?
Year, because I would have get. I don't know the year, but
this is a BS question, right?
You still got it right.
Who? What year was Soviets? Were they
1966?
Yes. Okay, yeah, England beat them. Okay.
Good job, Anthony. Appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, that was a tough one. Turkey.
Well, I thought we did. I thought we did pretty well there.
Well, we got the 3 easy ones. Korea, USA,
and Morocco.
Those are the
Is
easy
Korea
ones.
easy? That was 2002. Who remembers that?
Yeah, but people have been talking about it a lot recently. Like, we're a host nation like Korea. We can make the semis like they did. Maybe we can get a big ref call to go our way in the quarters. That's what we need. An immediate red card for Lamine Yamal. Early game.
Right. Unfortunately, David Stern is not running the World Cup, unfortunately, in which case that might happen. Think of how can I name every World Cup final? How far back can you go with World Cup finals? Just like the championship.
At least to 94.
So let me see. So 82 is Italy beats Germany, West Germany. 86. Yep. Who does Argentina beats Germany in 86, right?
That sounds right.
90, Germany beats Argentina.
Yeah, the rematch, yep.
94, Brazil, Italy.
Yep.
France, Brazil.
98, yes, in France.
Brazil over Germany.
Yep.
In Japan. 2006 is Italy over France in Germany.
Yep, the famous penalty shootout.
10 is Spain over the Netherlands in a terrible game in South Africa.
Yep.
14 is another Germany-Argentina final in Brazil. Then France over Croatia in Russia, and then Argentina over France in Qatar.
Yes. That's pretty good.
We're pretty good, right?
Yeah.
Pretty good.
And you're Dutch, great, 3-time runners-up.
Yeah, it's tough.
1974.
Johan Cruyff. Can never get them over the line. My friend Thomas Rongen can never get the Dutch. And guess what? It ain't happening this year, even after they beat Sweden 5-1 this weekend. Anthony, you're the best, buddy. Get some sleep. We'll catch up with you soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Our friend Anthony Dabbundo joining us here on the show. Bill, that was kind of a wonky trivia question, was it not?
A little bit. This is, I don't have a lot of World Cup knowledge, Nick, so we're doing the best we can here, trying to do something other than, did a lot of NBA the last month with the Knicks, so trying to mix it up a little bit.
I thought for sure yours was going to be who the United States beat to get to the semifinals, if they're going to go to the semifinals this year. And that answer is Paraguay and Belgium in the 30s. That's what I thought the question was going to be. All right, we'll take a break. And on the other side, what are we going to talk about? Maybe a little more on the World Cup. We have the Florida Panthers trade with the Ottawa Senators to get to, a little National Football League as well. Here on a Monday, You Better You Bet, Nick Kostos and you, presented by BetMGM.
to wire for Wyndham.
Let's go!
And a second U.S. Open championship.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
NBC courtesy of The Call. Wyndham Clark wins the U.S. Open at Shinnecock. Does anyone care? Did anyone watch? Did anyone attend? And I understand that the World Cup's going on. I get it. I understand that here in New York, the Knicks just won the championship, and that's where the lion's share of the attention's been and where the money's being spent. Look, I'm not going to sit here and pontificate about golf as a game and is golf in trouble, because I don't think it is, and I'm not trying to insinuate it is, and also I'm not the biggest golf fan to be able to offer a super educated opinion on that subject. But what I do feel comfortable saying, as a casual golf fan who parachutes in for big events, and I think I speak for the majority of our audience when I say that, and I'm sure there are people in the audience that absolutely love golf and watch all the tournaments. God bless you. You're welcome to do whatever the hell you want. It's not something I do, which doesn't mean I'm right and you're wrong, or vice versa. But I do think I speak for the majority of the audience when I say I am a casual golf fan and I'm interested in the big events. Can we get some more juice? Any more juice? Can we get like a big rivalry to get people excited? Like, great, Rory went back-to-back and won another Masters. That was pretty cool. Now here's Aaron Rai and here's Wyndham Clark. And I liked the Aaron Rai story. I liked it. But you know what? Like, this major, the U.S. Open, had zero buzz this past weekend. Zero. Am I wrong about that? Did anyone care? Did anyone care? Is it so much to ask that we could get... I'm looking at the leaderboard right now. So Scottie Scheffler finished in a three-way tie for fourth. At even. 4 shots off the lead. Wyndham Clark finished at 4 under. Is it so much to ask that we could have Scottie in contention at the very end of this tournament, create some drama? Can we get some of the big... Rory McIlroy, 6 over. Bryson, Ron... Can we get some juice? Not every tournament can be won by a household name. And I'm not trying to criticize Wyndham Clark or criticize Aaron Rai. But I mean, come on. Where are the stories? Where are they? If you're a huge golf fan, like, of course, you're tickled pink by all of this. In the same way that I don't think you could ever convince a casual NFL fan. Like, you're going to sound crazy if you tell that person, a casual NFL fan who parachutes in for the big games, like, man, I'm watching every second, every snap of the Titans-Jaguars Thursday night game. That's me. Like, the NFL can't put a product out that's bad enough that I won't watch. And there are golf fans, I'm sure, like Tyler Morales on our show crew. He watches every tournament. So to the big golf fan, you're going to watch no matter what, right? And that's cool. But for the casual fan like me, I need something a little more interesting than this. And whether you think that's fair or unfair or not, that's fine. You're welcome to your opinion in the same way I'm welcome to mine. And I bet that a lot of people will agree with me on that notion. So congratulations to Wyndham Clark, now a 2-time U.S. Open winner. In all sincerity, congratulations to him. Also, would be nice to have a little more juice at some of these big golf events and golf majors. You better you bet on this Monday. Nick Kostos and you on Westwood One Sports. Want to make sure we can work in a huge NHL trade from this past weekend into the program today. In case you missed it, because there's a lot going on, the Florida Panthers, who are the 2-time reigning Stanley Cup champions and missed the playoffs this past year, acquiring Brady Tkachuk from the Ottawa Senators. Brady's brother, of course, is Matthew, who has starred for the Panthers, and those two, along with others, including Jack Hughes, helped the U.S. win the gold medal in Olympic hockey. So Brady Tkachuk is now a Florida Panther, along with Matthew Tkachuk. A bevy of draft picks, 2 first-rounders, a 2029 one, and a 2027 2, going to Ottawa in exchange for Brady Tkachuk. And we'll talk more about the Brady Tkachuk trade and what it means for the Florida Panthers and the Eastern Conference on the other side here on You Better You Bet.
Now, back to You Better You Bet with Nick Kostos on Westwood One Sports.
It is time for the world's top stars to go head-to-head on the pitch. Grab today's Odds Boost token, join the excitement, and make your World's Game moment. Activate your token for any World's Game bet, and you'll receive a bigger payout if your bet wins. Download the BetMGM app today, and please gamble responsibly. We will close the show coming up in a couple minutes with the bets for tonight into tomorrow in the World Cup. I have a moneyline parlay that will end with Portugal beating Uzbekistan tomorrow, so we'll give you that bet to close the show. But back to the NHL trade that we mentioned at the end of last segment, as Brady Tkachuk goes from Ottawa to the Florida Panthers. A very, very interesting trade by the Panthers, who missed the playoffs this past year following 3 Stanley Cup finals in a row. Remember, losing to the Vegas Golden Knights, then beating Edmonton in back-to-back Stanley Cup championships. So Florida is a very injured team last year, right? We saw Brad Marchand missed a lot of time, Sam Reinhart missed a lot of time, and of course, Matthew Tkachuk missed time, and captain Alexander Barkov missed the entire season. So this move now, Brady Tkachuk coming over to South Florida, would seem to indicate that the Panthers are going to push their chips in to make another Stanley Cup run this year. The fly in the ointment, though, is the fact that the Florida Panthers currently have 0 goaltenders under contract for this coming season. Sergei Bobrovsky, who has been their goalie throughout this incredible run they've been on, 2-time Stanley Cup champion, is a free agent at age 38 and wants a big payday. And now, with Brady Tkachuk in town to go along with Matthew and Barkov and the other studs on the Florida Panthers in terms of their skaters, do they have the money to bring back Sergei Bobrovsky? If I'm the Florida Panthers, and I'm not, but if I were, I would be pulling every lever and pushing every button possible to try and work it out to bring Sergei Bobrovsky back. If you talk to people in and around the National Hockey League, and this doesn't have to be someone in the media or an insider or a former player or a former coach or a former GM. If you know someone who's a huge hockey fan, and I do, all my friends are sports fans. That'd be the name of like my country album. All my friends are sports fans. And you know someone who's a big hockey fan. Chances are that hockey fan believes that if the Panthers had been fully healthy this year, that it could have been them getting them in the Stanley Cup final and not the Carolina Hurricanes. Or at the very least, that they would have been in the mix to go back to the Stanley Cup final. And now, here's Brady Tkachuk, who's awesome, added to the roster. Just who's going to be in goal for Florida? Is it going to be, and Panthers fans avert thine ears, could Stuart Skinner potentially be the Panthers goalie this year? The Oilers goalie who they beat in 2 straight Stanley Cup finals. Like, they're going to have to figure this out. Figure out a way to make it work with Bobrovsky. And I don't claim to have the answer to know how financially they would figure it out, but that's what they need to do. And if that happens, and Bobrovsky re-signs with the Panthers to go along with this roster, yeah, we could be talking about the Florida Panthers making a 4th Stanley Cup final in the last 5 years. You better you bet on this Monday. Nick Kostos and you here on Westwood One Sports. Just to go back to the big news of the day that we talked about to start the show, with Giannis and his potential trade out of Milwaukee. Shams Charania reported right as we came on the air at 9 o'clock Eastern time this morning that Giannis will be traded, not if, but will, and when he is traded before the start of tomorrow night's NBA draft. And Shams saying that the 2 teams, the front runners, are the Boston Celtics and the Miami Heat, and that it looks like it'll be a 2-team trade for Giannis. There won't be a 3rd team, which made Matt Moore, when he joined us on the show last hour, Matt saying that he thinks Miami is more likely than Boston. And I respect Matt. I disagree with Matt. I understand what Matt's saying to a degree, that if you bring Jaylen Brown, and by the time we come on the air tomorrow, this trade could be done. That if you trade for Jaylen Brown, you're kind of in a similar spot, right? Where the Bucks were not good enough to win with Giannis, and now they won't be good enough to win with Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, to me, is so far and above better than these other options that are being presented by the Miami Heat. who again are like the guy in your fantasy league that wants your best player and are trading like 2 flex guys to get him. Like Tyler Hero, Jaime Jaquez, the 13th pick. Like, come on. Like, stop it. I get the idea that Jaylen Brown is not going to elevate Milwaukee all by himself, but do you think these other options are going to, like, collectively? I'd rather have the star player. And yeah, Jaylen Brown might not be as good as Giannis. Jaylen Brown is a top player in this league. Period. Justified MVP consideration this year. Like, carried the Celtics to the 2. And I know Tatum came back, but Brown was awesome. If I'm Milwaukee, this isn't even a question. I'm taking the Celtics offer. And I think Jaylen Brown, and I said it to Matt, is the Michael Jordan of Jeremy Grant's. Like, I think Jaylen Brown wants to go to his own team, and I don't know if he necessarily cares about whether they go 47-35 or 60-22. As long as he's the guy. And he will be if he gets traded to Milwaukee. So my best guess, I can be wrong. Matt is smarter than me when it comes to the NBA. He disagrees. We'll see. My best guess is Giannis will be a Boston Celtic. And if and when that happens, lock it in. Celtics-Knicks next year in the Eastern Conference Final. And what a coup by the Dallas Mavericks, who had this Luka Doncic nightmare trade engineered by former GM Nico Harrison, and have somehow managed to rebound with Cooper Flagg and Dusty May. Pretty good. And in case you missed it, earlier this morning, it was announced by a number of insiders, including Shams Charania from ESPN, Dusty May will leave the University of Michigan, where he just won the national championship, and Dusty May will be the next head coach of the Dallas Mavericks. Now, I can't guarantee that this trade's going to work, that this signing's going to work out, Dusty May going to the Mavericks, but I'll tell you, I don't dislike it. That's a great pivot from the Mavericks, away from Jason Kidd, who Masai Ujiri clearly didn't want to work with, and there are whispers that they didn't want Jason Kidd being the mentor for Cooper Flagg. Now here's Dusty May to help nurture young Cooper Flagg and this rebuilding Mavericks team. I absolutely love it on paper from a Mavericks perspective. I'm not going to guarantee it's going to work, but I do think it's a worthy roll of the dice and a very, very worthy swing of the bat by the Dallas Mavericks to hire Dusty May. And tomorrow we'll do a ton on the NBA draft. It should just go noted that when Matt Moore joined us, he said, and he talks to a ton of league executives, he thinks Cam Boozer is the best player in the draft. Not A.J. DeBonsa, not Darren Peterson, not Caleb Wilson, Cam Boozer. We could get some big-time fireworks tomorrow, round 1 of the NBA draft. We will lead the show with that. Assuming no Giannis trade, we will lead the show with the draft tomorrow. But for right now, let's close out the show with my bets for tonight in the world of sports. Kenny, please drop the dope-ass beat. All right. So I've got a World Cup moneyline parlay cooking that I feel like is, of course, I think it's going to win. I'm going to place the bet. So the bet is Argentina to beat Austria today, minus 220 at BetMGM. So the Argentines to win against Austria. Then we will run that into France to win against Iraq. And I thought Iraq was pretty decent in its opener, but I think France is the best team. So Argentina, money line, parlayed with Iraq money line. And we will take that into tomorrow, Portugal to beat Uzbekistan. And if you parlay those 3 results together to win Argentina, France, and Portugal at BetMGM, that 3-leg parlay, minus 111. Now, I have no interest in betting the Norway-Senegal game. I want to watch that game and see what happens. And then Jordan-Algeria, not really sure if I'm being candid. So France, Argentina, Portugal, minus 111 at BetMGM. We'll get into baseball tomorrow on the show. Our friend Tim Kirkchin from ESPN will join us. Very much look forward to that. Drew Dinsick will join us as well, the whale capper from NBC Sports. So until we meet again, dear listener and dear viewer, that'll be tomorrow on a terrific Sports Tuesday. I am Nick Kostos, wishing you and yours minimal sweats, winning bets, and the absolute very best of luck. Our good friends Bleck and Abdallah are coming up next on Westwood One Sports, and it is very possible that by the time we come on the air tomorrow, 9 a.m. Eastern, our long national nightmare will be over, and Giannis will be traded from the Milwaukee Bucks. Talk to you tomorrow at 9 a.m. Eastern.